Mariah Gannessa is here. Mariah is the founder and CEO of Four Visions, and she's so much more than that. She is someone who is out here connecting people, building tribe, building foundations for commerce in the new and old ways.
Whether it be through the plants, whether it be through community, whether it be through music and connection, art, expression, there's so many different pathways to help us remember. And I do believe that the more that we cultivate those paths, the easier it is to sustain this spiritual path that we are cultivating ultimately. And when we need to be reminded of what it feels like to be connected to all of life and to be reminded that we are part of all of creation, that we deserve to be here, that we are naturally part of all of life.
Peace and blessings, soul family. Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. Brothers and sisters, what is the vision you have for your life? Have you connected to the essence of who you are and why you are here on this planet, in this lifetime? Have you had your vision, or are you one who is still seeking? With that, our guest today, the visionary, Mariah Gannessa is here. Woo! Mariah is the founder and CEO of Four Visions Market. She's the VP of Magic Fund Amazon, and she's so much more than that. She is someone who is out here connecting people, building tribe, building foundations for commerce in the new and old ways. That's how I see you. You know, I see you as someone who's navigating this very delicate relationship of reciprocity that is happening right now. And so I see you as one who has found your vision, and I fully believe in your vision. And her debut album, Munay, is coming out this year. Please welcome Mariah Gannessa.
Thank you so much, my brother. It's always a pleasure to be with you in your presence, and thank you for that warm welcome. And I'm really grateful to be here to connect with the incredible Sacred Sons family today.
Yes. And you know, the family is becoming even more like family as we are inviting in women into our community for Convergence 9. It's such an exciting expansion and coming together of unity in this time. But before we get into all that, I want to ask you, what is the definition of Munay? And am I pronouncing that correctly? That's how we call it, the Church of Munay.
You are.
Okay.
Munay.
What is this Munay you sing and speak of?
Well, I really just want to thank you so much for bringing that seed of a prayer into this conversation and into the welcoming, because I'm getting really excited to get to feel ready to share what that prayer is and to share my music with the world. And the word Munay is an Ingano word, comes from the Inga people. And the word really, it means love. And so this word really is a representation of the fullness, of the fullest expression of love that is here awaiting us. It's the embodiment of love. It's the giving and receiving of love. It is love in every breath, in every moment, in every instance. And it's the most embodied expression of that word, and really resonates and vibrates in every fiber of the being and of the cells within our body. So that is what the word means, and that is my prayer behind this album that's coming out this year. So I'm very excited to finally step into that and birth these songs into the world. I've been walking with a lot of these songs for many years now. It's been about 9 or 10 years in the making, and the path of music, it's something that it's just this endless study, and it can always feel like there's a reason to put something off when it comes to sharing our music, and finally arriving at that place where it's just clear that it's time for me to share this music with the world. And my prayer is that through these songs, people can return back to the heart, back to this place of connection with all of creation, and that these songs can be an inspiration of remembrance to help us to reconnect with the primordial essence that lives within each one of us.
Yes. Yes. It is such a remembrance. Mm-hmm. The frequency of the songs that travel through us from the ancestors, through our DNA, through the water in our bodies, through the memory, through the poetry. And so many of us out here have been reawakened to song through plant medicines. In our generation, in this culture, I'm just speaking on it. Man, it was like a long time since I picked up a djembe. And then I started sitting with some plants, and then it's like I can't put the djembe down. And now songs are flowing through me. And I know a lot of brothers and sisters have had that awakening. What was it like for you? What was the calling for you to maybe engage for the first time or to re-engage with music?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful question. And I think that, finding our music again, it's really a process of reconnection with the sound of creation, with the origin, where we come from. When we first came into this world, we came from music, vibration, sound. And so to reconnect with music, whether it be through the voice, and many of us have our own journeys of healing, that have included, a reclaiming of our voice, finding our voice. So many of us carry so much story and conditioning around, childhood encounters where we shut down our voice, and we believed that our voice wasn't worthy of being shared, or we didn't have what it took to share that sacred song. And so music, my journey of music has been very much that. And I think, from what I have learned and heard of other people's stories, it's a very familiar story. In my childhood, I was told that I couldn't sing, and so I didn't sing anymore. But I remember being a little girl and just singing all the time until that fatal day when it all stopped and the music ceased, and I didn't sing for many years. And then, it was also through my journey with the plants, through my deepening my connection with nature, that I reawakened and rekindled that connection to this source vibration. And oh boy, music and voice, song, it's such a beautiful medicine and teacher that carries us through so many different stages, and evolves too as we evolve. I noticed a big shift in my voice when I became a mother. That was a big shift. I could feel like the energy shifting, and the sound frequency actually shifted when I went through that portal of initiation. And over time, ultimately, it's the music, song has been teaching me how to come back home to myself. And so it's been this beautiful journey of self-love, of celebration, right? The celestial party of life, and being able to tap into that through music. And you bring joy, return to joy. And, that's something we're all so deeply needing at this time in the planet, with so much sadness and grief and pain, distortion and separation. Joy is such medicine. It's like a balm of healing nectar that soothes the heart. And for me, music has been that. Music has helped me to return to that place and to find the place of prayer in the most challenging, even darkest moments. And so that's been my journey, and little by little, the plants taught me and helped me to find that place of safety and comfort, empowerment, trust, and really just step by step, really always listening and seeing, am I singing from joy? Am I singing from this place of celebration, or is it a performance? And making sure that, when it's joy, that's really what nourishes me and those who hear the music. And so always listening and learning throughout the process.
That's beautiful. And that's the essence of Munay, bringing that love through with joy, right? With the joyful heart. And there's also room for singing of the grief, because that is medicine too. But I like that where your medicine is and that it comes from that space of joy. Yeah, there's so many things ways that can go. I want to stay with the voice for just a second. My sister Leah one time told me, your voice can heal your body. Like, your voice is designed to be the instrument for your vessel. And when we express in ways that bring us joy, that fill our cup, it's actually a healing exchange that's happening. Do you experience that? I got to tell you, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to be sitting in a ceremony, hearing Icaros being sung from the ancestors from long ago, and feeling the sound healing as we're so open to it. So I've experienced it. I can say that because I've experienced it.
I love that. So because my journey with music and the voice was also birthed through ceremony, and because that is that moment of such sensitivity and heightened connection where it's so easy to feel that purity and that channel, right? When we connect to the cosmos and feel that direct receiving and flowing through us, that has always been the guiding pillar, or the place that I seek to arrive at when I'm singing. And I have to tell you, singing outside a ceremony is a completely different thing. And it's been it's been a journey, especially as I'm recording this album and really wanting that vibration to come through my music.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second, these takes, can you put a little reverb on? This a little dry. Doesn't sound like it sounds with the medicine.
Totally. But it's so beautiful to know what it sounds like with the medicine and know that that's where I wanted to get to. And so it's been, a really beautiful process of introspection, of really cultivating and nourishing that place of creation within me, and also rediscovering this joy that I was talking about, but when no one's listening, to be able to have that intimate relationship with my song and voice with creation, to sing to the birds, to sing to the plants, to the trees, to the wind, to the waters. And in those moments, I found the greatest opening, and that place of devotion and communion. And so that's really what I strive to place on my altar when I go to share my music with the world.
Beautiful. I'm going to blast this thing. When you release this, I'm going to broadcast it with you.
Thank you, Adam.
So this is great. And I love to give advice, like step ones. I'm all about that first step. So you are in the process of moving through, but you've taken some steps already through this process. And so for somebody out there who's maybe feeling a little restricted or constricted around their voice, maybe they want to start a podcast. Maybe they want to write an album. You and I have both done these things. Sacred Sons, we released an album in 2022, which was a really beautiful, cathartic, and another form of expressing a culture that we are contributing to. So back to those who are listening, if somebody wants to expand their voice, step into that, what's a skill or a tool that you could recommend based on your experience?
I love that question because it also kind of really relates to that opening message that you shared about vision, because really what I feel with the voice is it's this stepping into our authentic medicine and wanting to share that medicine and share our gifts with the world. And so part of cultivating our vision is nourishing that place. And first we have to nourish that inner cup that nourishes the heart and nourishes our relationship with self. And so the first thing I would say is to approach that relationship and investigation as a part of your self-development and your relationship with self, rather than trying to get to any final goal, utilizing your relationship with your voice, whether it be in the way that you speak and communicate or through music, from this place of wanting to tap into your authentic medicine and your authentic version of who you are in its totality, understanding that by deepening our relationship with that place within, the clarity for what we're here to share, the way in which we share it, all comes into fruition and brings like this crystal clarity from which we can move forward and walk. And so approaching it as like a act of self-love, even an act of witnessing ourselves, is really powerful and incredibly healing, right? And then within that, you know, it's very normal to start to have certain things come up that are blocking or preventing us from doing that. Maybe it's our own fear or self-doubt or self-rejection. And so whatever it is that we go observing coming up in the process, my advice would be to work with it, to meet that part of ourselves, and to receive the medicine in that and the teachings in that. And whatever arises, we always want to give it its counter medicine, right? So if it's doubt, feeding ourselves self-love, self-trust, and acceptance. If it's fear, starting to work with prayers to cultivate a sense of safety within our own beings, within nature, within the planet and humanity and all of creation. So always seeking the counter medicine that's going to transform whatever the bitterness is into sweetness. And so it's really, you know, becoming the artist of our life in this process by being willing to transform or turn the page or flip to see whatever this is from the other side, so that we can bring the sweetness and transform it. It's not about rejecting anything. It's about embracing these parts of us, knowing that they have made us who we are. Some of these things within us that show up in this work of finding our voice are related to barriers or armor that we have put up, right? And really those are mechanisms that contribute to our sense of safety. They're mechanisms that we created out of our traumas, our impacts, our wounds, that were the result of us trying to feel safe or trying to feel held or trying to trust in life, because that's what our natural tendency is, to flourish, to thrive. So truly, this investigation of voice is something that is shadow work. It's like the fullest extent, and it does bring up those parts of us ourselves. I remember when I was starting the podcast, for me, it was like a really big, boundary there for me, and it was this thing that I had to really step into with sharing my voice, because up until that point, talking, sharing, it was something that was uncomfortable for me. And so finding that and working with that was an incredible process for me, and ultimately just brought me so much deeper into my own empowerment and embodiment of the person that I want to be.
100%. That's what I'm saying. It's such a core element of our embodiment. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you have to wield the voice like someone else, or it's really about finding your song. I like to think about it like that. Like, what is your walking song? And that might look like someone who teaches. You know, there's a group of people who love to hear themselves talk. I might be one of them. You know what I'm saying? And teachers have this gift to teach and to educate through the voice. And that could be a walking song. That's who they are. They're an educator in the world. And others may actually bring song through and deep ceremony through the song. Or, you know, there's all kinds of way to find the song, your song. But that is an element of creating oneness within one's life, within oneself, within that I am. That's what it was. Like in the beginning, there was the word, you know, when it was the word that came through. And then the essence of I am. That I am really comes through the channel of the voice. And I'm kind of just riffing in a way. But I do see some power, some real power in that, and then also in the breath, because with the voice, like what is the foundation of our voice is our breath, right? And so that first cry, that first breath that we take, it's from that point that we begin this journey with our voice, and with our cries, and with our joys, and with our smiles, and with our songs. And I don't believe it's ever over. Even for those who have mastered, you know, I'm sure Beyonce's out there trying to write another hit. You know, she's criticizing herself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that journey is the journey of self-knowledge and mastery, and if there is such a thing, right? But so to give it that focus, I feel like it's important because here's the why now. When the vision comes through, when we see it, no matter how the vision comes through, the vision then gets to be communicated. It gets to be transferred either through the storytelling, through the song, through the voice, but some type of communication. That's what the vision beckons us to do. Go tell the others. Bring this to the world, bring this through to the world and find the song to bring this through. And so it's an important bridge to the vision. What do you think about that?
Wow, that was good. I love that. It's so true. And ultimately, this essence of wanting to share the good word and, shout from the mountaintops, it comes from this place of divine connection and inspiration that we feel when we find that medicine within us, and this element of being able to communicate the good word, to share the good news of hope, of beauty, of joy, or to be able to offer solace and support, and to hold one another in this journey of the human experience. This is what it's all about, really, this connection, this communion. And, if we really think about this gift that we're given to speak and to be understood, to share and to connect in this way. It's such an incredible blessing that we have this. What would the human experience be like if we didn't have a way to, express and give word and sound and prayer, and be able to name everything that we witness and experience together, right? It's a fundamental part of what it means to be alive.
Yes. What that just brought up for me is that free speech is directly connected to free will. Mm-hmm. Like the freedom we have to use our voices is directly connected to our free will. So what would it be without it? We would not have the free will that we experience as humans potentially, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're living in such an important moment in our country's history and humanity's evolution, and this element of, really holding firm to that prayer of free speech, of free will, of being able to share and express ourselves in the fullest capacity, I believe is truly fundamental to our well-being as a society and as a collective consciousness. And of course, there's so much work that needs to be done in that realm, globally speaking. But when we sing, or when we share in prayer, or when we utilize the word in a beautiful way to weave threads of light, we're contributing to this momentum of evolution, of return, remembrance, and protection to the very thing that is part of our fundamental essence that we need to be well as the human species.
Yeah. Wow. It's all connected. Oh my gosh. It's all connected. It's funny because it's like it's all true, and there's an element that's hilarious to me about all of this at the same time. Mm-hmm. Just
it's so
because
simple.
Also with our voices, like laughter is so important for us. Like, and yes, let's weave the light through the voice, but let's laugh, let's play, let's be free, like truly free, so that we don't have to be always doing so much weaving, right? And in another way to say that is like, wow, yeah, with just where things are. The labor of it feels heavy.
It does.
I think people are feeling the heaviness of it, and so to return to joy and to find that freedom, to put down that heaviness, or to I think we know we can't put it down. We have to go through it, and it's a part of what's happening. So, where I want to shift into, and I already am starting to go there, which is integrating the vision. I love how much emphasis recently you and Four Visions has been putting in on, listen, there's a lot of medicine work out here, but let's really focus on the integration. I believe in one of the videos, a brother said, or you said, 50% of the work is done in ceremony and the other 50% is done in integrating the work. So I'm speaking to, for me, integration looks like, singing some of those songs that came from the ceremony, or learning a new song even. That's a great way to integrate. What is kind of your feeling on integration broadly, and like maybe give us some other tools?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And it's been, a topic that's really present on my heart with the work that I have committed myself to in this life, being a bridge for ancestral plant medicines and wisdom cultures to be integrated and shared with the West. And so when I started our journey, with Four Visions and really creating a marketplace and a platform for these sacred plant medicines to be shared, it really came from the same essence that we were just speaking to of these plants healed me. These plants changed my life forever. Eternally grateful and indebted to the wisdom cultures and the wisdom keepers that showed me the way, who helped me to heal my heart and really gave me a new path forward and what it looked like to walk my life forward from that place. So because of that intimacy with my own journey, my calling came from this place of wanting other people to experience this. And, this was like 6-7 years ago at this point, maybe even 8, when the seedlings of Four Visions really started coming into form. And so over the period of building our project and our organization, so much learning took place, and so many questions were asked and presented to me of what it means to do this in a good way, of what level of responsibility falls on me and on our team of our organization when it comes to proper education and container and holding people in these great initiations. And we don't sell visionary ceremonial plants through our platform, but we sell a lot of powerful master tools and ultimately a lot of important investigation of what it means to do this with integrity. And so that, in simultaneously with my studies with plant medicine over the last decade and the opportunity to hold many, many retreats and be able to support and witness hundreds and thousands of people go through their journey with sitting with plants and their healing journey in a retreat, and then also bearing witness to what that process looks like when they go home. And of course, my process too, right? Because ultimately it's both sides. This element of the importance of integration became very, very clear. And, integration, I don't really feel is exclusive to working with plant medicine by any means. And I'm sure that you guys talk about integration when it comes to the Sacred Sons, events.
Every event, always dedicated the last section to integration. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that.
And then even post calls and like,
yep.
We're a brotherhood, so we're always in connection with our folks.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Totally. So I believe integration is, part of any experience of profound spiritual transformation. And so any time where we experience in very intense expansion, where we are getting to see, parts of ourselves that have been hidden for many, many years, or we're witnessing and uncovering the layers of our psyche and the wounds that surrounding our heart. Any type of profound spiritual encounter requires integration.
It's important for me because we're talking about it in the ancient future way. People are coming to ceremony and they're going home and they're having to integrate back into their lives. Like, how do the Yawanawa integrate? Because I see them as like family, as extended, like community. Do they integrate together? How do they do it in the original way that we can like bridge also for the modern folks who are participating in this? Do you have any insight on that, or have you experienced what that feels like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm super happy you asked it, because ultimately my understanding of integration is we are needing it much more in our Western society, in our modern society, because of how far removed we are from our connection to earth community and the force of life on a day-to-day basis. So when we look at how the structure of traditional tribes and communities who work with visionary plants is and was, oftentimes, the maloka, or the sacred ceremonial space, was in the center of the village, and then the cacique, or the chief or elder's hut, or casita, was the next closest to the maloka. And then around that, as you move out further and further from the radius of the central pillar of the community, which is the ceremonial meeting space, are other people's huts and other families' casitas. And so right there, we witness that because they are living integrated into their community and to their ancestral ways, they go and they fish together, they go and hunt together, they do their offerings together, their plantings together, they sit and have their community sharings and talks, and then of course their ceremonial work together. Their need for integration looks much different because they naturally have that woven into the architecture or the design of their way of life. And so I feel that that's actually a really important thing to highlight because, when we started going into the development of creating an integration program, the first thing we asked was, is this something that should come and be led by our Indigenous partners, or is this something that needs to be led by our Westerners and the team that forms the other side of the bridge? And because of this, understanding that I was just sharing about, as well as just the nature of how they support their community members when they need support, it's just different because they're within physical, distance that they can go and check on each other in morning and evening.
Well, they're deeply interconnected as a community. So the integration is already, it's built into their lifestyle. And that I wanted to offer this. Sacred Son's first step of integration is staying connected. Mm-hmm. So we have what we call the 4 C's of integration. And the first C is staying connected. And so what you're saying is, those people, they're not only connected, they have the ceremony at the center of their ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And so, I really feel that. And so for folks leaving, right, and going back into a different reality almost, staying connected maybe to the people that they sat with or people that they can even communicate to about these incredible experiences is so important.
100%, Adam. And so ultimately, looking at this, understanding that the Indigenous communities don't necessarily have the same framework for what we're needing, we decided to, create our integration program that was a bridge between sharing and highlighting wisdom teachings from certain Indigenous partners, as well as bringing in psychologists, therapists, integration specialists, and people from the Western world who have Western background in integrating and working with the Western psyche, because, by the way, we have a different psyche than the Indigenous people who live deep, deep within the forest. And that's just important to recognize and acknowledge, and to ultimately create the container that we felt was very necessary and important with what you're talking about. And when we leave this sacred container and we go back into the concrete jungle, we go back to our work, we go back to our home, go back to our relationships, our projects, whatever mess we had going on when we left on Thursday, it's going to be there waiting for us on Monday or whatever the day is, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Being able to have the resources, the tools, the practices, the community is so important with integration, and totally makes sense that you guys have built that into the foundational pillar of your integration support offerings for your community. But ultimately to set people up for success, and to really understand, like you said, that the process doesn't end just when the immersion ends or this retreat ends, but understanding that this process of integration is, then we go do our homework, then we go integrate the teachings, and we work on grounding down the visions that we received, if we're talking about plant medicine, but it can also be insights and counsel and healing. The healing is there. The healing doesn't go away. But what we have to then do is cultivate it and nourish it and begin to strengthen that connection.
Can folks who have sat in ceremony outside of your community join your integration platform or courses or calls?
Definitely. Yeah, thank you for that question. We designed this program to be universal for all plant medicine experiences and fungi experiences. And of course, it's based off of the Yahe because that is our architecture, that's our school, but all the teachings are so applicable. And because integration is not just immediate integration, because integration can be interchangeable with the spiritual study and the process of translating and embodying the wisdom that our spiritual experiences and encounters give to us. Our integration program really is that. It's a spiritual study. So it's designed for people who are in immediate integration, who are really needing that support and immediate container. But it's also designed for people who are 3 to 6 months out from that experience that they had and are looking to get a little bit more support, perhaps accountability, brush up on the skills and the tools that they are going to need to start working harder to cultivate in order to start to see more change and transformation. And it's also designed for someone who just is interested in connecting deeper with nature, with plants, cultivating and nourishing their spiritual practice through these different modalities that we have included within the curriculum. So we really designed it to meet the needs of many different paths, and really based off of what we were observing was really needed in the greater plant medicine community as a whole, but even, one step out from there, the spiritual community, because integration is something that often is lacking with a majority of the spiritual containers that you see, today being offered. And it really is something that requires a level of dedication and hard work, requires, the ability to commit to something. And it's very beautiful because my teacher, he actually talks about plant medicine integration as being like a diet. Just like you do a plant dieta, integration is a diet because it's that time. Yeah. It
is. It totally is. The second C of our sacred sons integration is consumption. And it's not just the diet of what we eat or the nourishment that we take in. It's what songs are we listening to? What music what frequencies are we engaging in? What type of thoughts, what type of conversations, what podcasts are you listening to? Like, what are you allowing into your boundary, right? And so, yeah, I love that. I love that it's considered a diet. Say more about, and I just wanted to say here, I think that Four Visions is the perfect community to offer broad integration because of what you've said with seeing thousands and thousands of people through ceremony and knowing what's needed, both through the lens of, ancestral wisdom teachings and, modern psychology, because that's the tools that are available to us. And it's not to discard or to pedestal one or the other, but in that same ancient future way to bridge them and to find what's useful and what's working.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So beautiful. I appreciate that, my brother. And ultimately, when we go through these moments of spiritual expansion, we are very sensitive, right? And I'm sure you guys talk about this in the program. It's like we're wide open, right? And so what are we going to allow in, and what are we going to fill those spaces that we just liberated of our wounds and our pains and trauma? What's going to come and fill those empty spaces? And so it's a moment in our lives where we have to have a lot of vigilance, discernment, and consciously make decisions of what we're going to bring into our lives, because we just made it very clear what's leaving, and now it's about what's coming and what are we going to call forth. And so in our program, ultimately, we bring people through this process and support them in this process of really uncovering and getting clear. And anyone who has struggled with integration or feels like they've had a setback after, a spiritual experience or plant medicine ceremony, it's easy to write off that experience and say, oh, that didn't work for me, right? That didn't work. It didn't do what it was supposed to do because I'm back where I started. And I think it's really important to clarify that too, because like we can have a profound healing and release and remove all the pain, but if on day one after we go home we go back to the same thought patterns and the same relating, communication and creation of the very same type of energy that created that sickness in the first place, it's going to be back before we know it. And so ultimately this process is about acknowledging that the healing has happened and now doing our work. We also talk a lot about how the very best way to honor and respect the healing that you received is by doing the work. Oftentimes people will leave ceremonies, they're so inspired, they want to, help and heal and give back and all these things. And my teacher tells them the very best thing you can do to honor what you received is to go back and transform your life. And it truly is ultimately, what we have to do to bring everything full circle. And it requires work. It's not easy to go back and make those radical changes or acknowledge and recognize that the job we've had for 25 years, it no longer serves us. And we have to make some huge shifts in our lives and in our relationships and be radically honest with ourselves. It's not for the faint of heart. But ultimately, it's for you because you started this journey anyway. You said yes to the healing at the beginning, so you have the capacity. We all have the capacity. And with the right support, with the right container, the right elements and resources, if we resource ourselves, right? If we show up for ourselves and carry ourselves through, we will get to the other side. And the other side is so beautiful.
You just said the third C of Sacred Sons, integration, container. Be the container within your life, no leaky energy. Sometimes it's about holding the experience, not letting it leak out, not like expressing the experience through storytelling, but like really holding the energy of the deep, profound experience that was gifted to us. And like holding that energy within, and from that place using our discernment, making good choices, and then also making beautiful creations. There's also the opposite side of the spectrum from the person who's like, I didn't get it, to someone who's like, I got it, I'm about to go change everything. And we're like, hold that energy, brother. Yeah. Wait, before you upheave your life, be the container, because there's a certain like characteristic of human that wants to do it all at once too.
The very next day.
Right. And so holding that energy is powerful. It's powerful and it's necessary.
Yes, 100%. I'm sure you guys recommend, not making any radical changes or decisions immediately.
Yeah, we say for like 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Like three to 6 months is like the span where you should be even like for full radical changes. If there's commitments that we've made, I'm like, go home and start yesterday, like start immediately. But with things that are like having impact, especially on other people who were not in ceremony, those are the type of decisions in life to really take time, understand what the impacts are, and not just be high on the medicine of like whatever it was, right? And to really hold that energy. That's why being that container for yourself and for myself in my life, it's so important to hold that perspective. Because this is also creating the new foundation with how we move forward in our life.
Yes, 100%. And that element of cultivating in those initial 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, whatever commitment, you really give to yourself to cultivate, ultimately, it's so potent because, like I mentioned, it's that moment of of ultimate sensitivity, right? So we're so open, and so that's also when more insight is going to come and more guidance through our meditation, our prayer practice. And so it's also a really important time to dedicate ourselves and recommit to our spiritual practice, and that's also where tools and allies come in, like you're mentioning, diet, the ways in which we're nourishing our minds, and then for us, we really encourage people to deepen their relationship with nature during that time, because so many of the plant tools and the plant allies are fundamental to ensuring that connection with nature and that inherent communion with the force of life that we are part of remains strong, because ultimately that is also something that will continue to bring us tremendous amount of blessings and gifts and wisdom. And so ultimately, this idea that we're touching on is a really important one, and this stillness before we make radical change is truly pivotal and incredibly powerful. To be able to sit on a prayer or to sit on a huge life decision and to cultivate the power, the potency through our prayer over a period of time, so that when we go to take that action, it's an action with a strong step forward, with a step forward of confidence, of surety. And so this is actually a really key part to success when making radical change and transformation in our lives, because if we do it too quickly before we're fully prepared ourselves and given ourselves over to this new path that we are preparing to walk, then we can waver and have more doubt. And so ultimately this is an important element to really just cultivating and strengthening our relationship with spirit and source, so that the decisions that we do make come from this place of divine knowing, confidence, and trust and faith.
Yeah, so the final C for us, our fourth C is commitments, and holding the commitments that we made. In our circles, they're spoken. And they're spoken to the eyes of men, and it's very powerful. Sometimes the commitments in Aya ceremony, like I've definitely made agreements in ceremony, and I've definitely had resistance to things, but I've definitely said yes in ceremony. Yeah. For me, that's a commitment that I'm going to keep. So remembering our commitments from the Big Bang experience, I feel like is very vital. And so writing those down, read them as a mantra. Wake up and take those commitments to heart, because if we forget them, because one thing we're good at as humans is forgetting. But if we don't put those commitments at the forefront of our 3D reality, then we're doing the vision a disservice, because the vision was there for us to say yes. And then once we make the commitment now, boom, bring the vision into reality. Through commitment.
I love that. I love hearing about the 4 C's and just understanding there's so much unity and parallels, to this process. And, for me, for example, my teacher, he always says, the spirits of nature are there waiting, watching, witnessing you, waiting to see what you do. And when you take that step forward in good consciousness, fulfilling the commitment that you made to spirit, they're there applauding you, celebrating you. And in that moment, there's spiritual strength that's coming for you to continue catalyzing your way forward. And so it's this beautiful process in building of integrity and literally cultivating our spiritual strength, our spiritual fortitude. And it comes through honoring our word when we share to our brothers or our sisters and are being witness in that. And it also comes through, honoring of our word to ourselves and to Creator. And so there's this beautiful element of, strengthening ourselves and becoming a person of tremendous integrity that comes when we follow through and really, dive deep within the depths of our being to cultivate the strength and the courage to complete and to fulfill a promise or a commitment that we've made.
Yes, I just love that you said that, to honor our word. And this is another aspect of honoring the voice, is to do what you say. And so honor your word through action. right? That's how we get in reciprocity with the voice, and then it can begin to flow. So honoring the word through action and creating that cycle. This is really beautiful. I had no idea we'd be talking about all of this today, in terms of voice and integration, but it all goes together, truly. Mm-hmm. It really does.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So this is something I wanted to ask you about your reflection on. And I would say here, if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about Mariah's journey or the Yawanawa folks that you work with and other tribes, we talked a little bit about that on our last podcast. So go back and listen to the previous episode with Mariah. And there's something happening broadly with the consciousness of this grandmother medicine known as ayahuasca. I'm just noticing so many of the tribe out there being connected through this consciousness. And I'm wondering if you have any insight, any visions, any ideas about what that is and maybe what it's leading to. And what I'm saying is there's a consciousness that is running through our bodies, our spirits, and it's bringing us into connection. And I continue to experience this. So just in the depth of, like your studies and your experience, what is your take on what's unfolding?
The visionary plants, they bring us to the celestial libraries where there exists cosmic information, and the information is infinite, and there's many, many different spiritual houses in these libraries that exist in the celestial realm. And that information that exists there, we need it. And so I believe that we as a collective are feeling more and more drawn to the visionary plants at this time to be able to access this information that is very much necessary for the evolution of the planet and of the human consciousness. Now, this is a very interesting question because just because we're all drinking ayahuasca doesn't mean everything gets fixed tomorrow. And even, people say that that's the solution, get our political leaders to drink medicine and everything will be better. Ultimately, what we were just talking about, really just really epitomizes and clarifies this element that the work can be done, the work is going to be done by each individual person relative to how committed we are to our own spiritual healing and evolution and transformation. Now, when we go to work with the visionary plants, time and space doesn't exist, or it exists in a much different way than it exists in our 3D world. And so we're able to do a lot of spiritual work a lot faster in that world, though, in the invisible world, in another dimension. So just because we've done it in another dimension doesn't mean that we've organized everything here. And so ultimately, I understand and feel the potency of that question, Adam, and I definitely think that it really speaks to the power of nature, the power and the force of the plants and the wisdom that they hold for us. But ultimately, I truly believe that that wisdom is accessible in all of creation and in every single moment, in every single encounter, in every single relationship. We're always learning, and every single thing that comes to us is medicine, and every single thing that comes to us is a teaching. And so really what it's about is opening our eyes to see that and to really feel the totality of that. Me talking to you here in this moment is medicine for me. I'm learning and receiving and really understanding so much more in just being able to open my eyes to feel the totality of this present moment, the gift of this present moment here with you right now. And so I feel like more than going off and finding and losing ourselves in plant medicines, what we have to really ask is, how do we get back to being in relationship with nature and all of creation? And so for me, I believe that as much healing can be found in a cup of basil tea that comes from directly from your garden that you've harvested and prayed over, placed your intention, dialogued and conversed with the spirit of the basil, placed your prayers, and then drank that tea from that much intentionality to bring that sweetness and the medicine and the teachings of the basil to your heart. There's the same amount of healing in that as in a cup of ayahuasca or in a peyote button. And that's, something that has come to me over time. That's not something that I felt, 10, 15 years ago. Because when I first started working with plants, of course, it was when's the next plant medicine ceremony, and searching for that connection that you feel when you're with the medicines, because that connection is instantaneous and it removes all of our blockages and our inhibitions. And right away, we're connected to the force of creation. But over time, as I've, gotten a little older and a little wiser, I have really attuned and understood that the real medicine comes in becoming an artist of our lives, of the day-to-day, of the present moment, of being able to receive healing in each day and transformation, self-reflection, introspection, and take the information that exists right in front of us. I don't need to travel to the celestial libraries. Of course, I love doing that, and it's an integral part of my spiritual studies and evolution. But can I find the information in my relationship with my child? Can I find that same information in my relationship with my work and my projects? And so it's really about learning how to do that, where I feel we need to arrive as a society. And that's my take on it. I'm not sure if that was the answer you were expecting, but that's where I'm at right now in my studies and understanding of it all.
What kind of basil are you growing in that garden of yours? That must be some good basil over there. No, I fully receive that, and I hear you. And that is also a part of the messaging that I received. And I'm saying this with a lot of humility, but the medicine showed me that through my embodiment and with my gifts, I can bring so many more people and reach so many more people than the medicine can. And so can you, and so can the next person. And that's the commitment that we make. That's one of the exchanges if we feel called. And so maybe, that's a part of it, because not everyone's going to find the medicine for the reason that you said. My brother Hunter just said to me in regards to the ancestors, we don't seek what they found, we seek what they sought. And so it's like, it's still our responsibility as human beings who are here to have a human experience. We're here for those baby cries. We're really beckoned to embrace this human experience. And I believe that we were given this gift of, like, if you ever forget, because you humans are good at forgetting, you're being born in a time where you can remember, and you'll find your way there. And it's not to go back to it every weekend. It's to know that you can find your way there again, so that you can get back to the work you committed to doing in the human realm, in this life. Again, do you know why you're here in this lifetime now? And I find it I have found that beautiful to explore in those realms with plant medicines, and I continue to find it so amazing to share in it with other human beings and to do the deep work together, whether that's deep celebration, deep confronting work, or simply to make the commitment, to make the choice to be together. I feel like, in that choice, there's so much magic.
I love that. And we're so blessed to have so many incredible reminders that are available to us, whether it be through the plants, whether it be through community, whether it be through, music and connection, art, expression. There's so many different pathways to help us remember. And I do believe that the more that we cultivate those paths, or whatever path is ours to cultivate, the easier it is to sustain this spiritual path and sustain this frequency that we are cultivating ultimately. And I love that you mentioned this. It's when we forget, when we need to be reminded of what it feels like to be connected to all of life, and to be reminded that we are part of all of creation, that we deserve to be here, that we are naturally part of all of life, then these tools are there for us, waiting for us, supporting us. And one other thing I just share is that, our relationship with these master plants can strengthen by taking space from them, and by embodying the teachings and doing the work that they sent us to do. And so I often find when I'm away from the medicines is when I feel their presence the strongest, and I feel their protection and guidance and strength the strongest. And so that's something that has also been a really beautiful thing to witness and experience.
Wow. I love that you said that. I had this thought the other day. I rock this necklace. I've been wearing it maybe for 10 years now. I wear this necklace all the time. It's got serpentine. It's got the ayahuasca vine in it. This is not an uncommon piece of jewelry, but it's just one that found its way to me. It's very special to me. And I feel the protection of being adorned with the vine, with the knowingness that in one of my last sits, which was years ago now, I was shown a vision of 3 children that were coming. I had an experience, and I'm still in the act of those visions. And so I get to allow those visions to continue to unfold without having to go back to the messenger, and being so present with that unfolding until that call comes again. But understanding that it hasn't, because I got work to do. I got diapers to change. I got lunches to pack. I got kids to take to school. There was a time in my life that was very open and ready to fully dive in. And there's also the reality of life and the humanness, and it's not all shiny and spiritual all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's like a part of that humanness is being present for the mess. And that's something that's been a big teacher for me.
100%.
I'm talking about literal spilled milk. I'm talking about mess. I'm talking about cleaning up. That is my dad.
As real
medicine.
As it gets.
It's one of the ways. Okay.
Love that.
So we have traversed a lot of really amazing things. 4 Visions will be present at Convergence 9 Remembrance, September 19th through 22nd in Olympic Peninsula, Washington. We are calling in 500 men and women. Mariah, our connection and being communities that are weaving together, it's been beautiful up until this point. I'm so looking forward to connecting in person, bridging with some of the to some of the greater community that is really out here and that is really looking for that connection. Here's what I want to go to: the connection, the ancient future connection. Our album was called Ancient Future, and you have dropped a clothing line called Ancient Future, and I love it. And I got to get one of those shirts, actually, because I really do like it.
Did we never send you one? I meant to get you one. I will send you one.
Get me a kit. Give me a whole kit.
Yeah,
I'm rocking XL these days. But no, the powerful part of creation is also creating these brands and these products and these bringing beauty through and merch and Sacred Sons. We have a big merch culture happening, which I love. Is this another creation for you that just brings you more joy?
Yeah, ultimately, I have had the beautiful opportunity. We as a company, as an organization, have had an incredible opportunity to experience our growth and, evolution. And ultimately, about a year ago, when we were kind of just looking at the amount of growth that we had seen, I asked myself the question of why do we want to grow? And the answer was so clear to me that we wanted we want to grow to increase our impact and increase our reach to be able to help more people who are looking for these tools and healing modalities, as well to increase our impact with the Indigenous tribes. And, we're not a nonprofit organization, but what we do and what we've been able to accomplish is something that I'm really quite proud of. And it's really just such an honor that we have been able to play such a fundamental role in so many incredible projects, from infrastructure to cultural preservation that is happening throughout the Amazon, that is incredibly important at this time to preserve these sacred cultures and to support the recovery and the reclamation process that so many of these tribes are going through and are in the process of. And so really seeing that our impact with the projects that we have gotten to be a part of has skyrocketed has really been my why for why we continue, seeing how we expand and continue growing. And for this reason, we decided to launch the Ancient Future line. And through that line, we are having the beautiful opportunity to fund an entire musical roots education program for about 200 Indigenous youth in Putumayo in Colombia. And this is just one of the many projects that we're getting to do this year. And it feels so good. And it really does fill me up so much, and it really just nourishes me deeply to know that not only are we sharing these sacred medicines and helping support so many people in their healing and awakening journeys, but we're also getting to roots on the ground play a really significant part in supporting these sacred cultures and the recovery of their traditions. And so these 200 children are going to be getting instruments. They were all gifted instruments about a month and a half ago, and they're entering into these weekly music classes. And so ultimately, it's this beautiful vision to support them in continuing to share their songs, their traditional music, which, they have the flutes, and the guitar was recently introduced in Tarango over the last 200 years, but they're getting music classes and, all sorts of instruments that are part of their traditional music. And really, it just comes back full circle to the beginning of this conversation, but music is such medicine, and ultimately, it felt so good to be able to do that through sharing a really epic merch line, so ultimately just hearing the call and taking one step forward at a time and looking at the beautiful opportunities to continue being in service and weaving in this way, and grateful for our collaboration with Sacred Sons. I also just want to say it feels really, really beautiful, and I'm really grateful to get to weave together in community in this way, and to get to know your beautiful family and tribe more over the coming months. And this is what we're here for, really just stepping up and being of service and sharing our light, and really holding that prayer for the healing and for the remembrance and returning and awakening of all beings. So that's kind of how it all unfolded, and that's how I'm here today.
Beautiful. One of the things that you shared with me that I really took away from our last conversation was an unexpected impact of Westerners coming to the jungle and participating in these ceremonies, was that it was bringing more attention to the youth who were slowly becoming Westernized and losing maybe some of the passion, or some of the, I don't know what you would call it, but moving away from traditional practices. But now, because of the popularity, it's actually making the Indigenous youth in those places even more connected to their traditions, also wanting to preserve them more and giving them another form of motivation to do so. And it's not that Westerners are the ones who are carrying it on. It's not all on Mariah's shoulders, even though you're doing your part, and clearly you have a calling in this arena. But that it's actually being spread to the youth. I think this is where it goes, and it's such a another beautiful form of reciprocity,
100%. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Planting the seeds for the future generations. preparing the earth for how we want our children to inherit it too. It's like, it's so important, this preservation, supporting in these individual communities' processes of returning and reclamation and remembrance. It's very complex and beautiful, because ultimately it has to come from them. They have to feel it, and each one of them are going through their own unique processes of seeing what's needed. Some of them are feeling really focused on language preservation, others, more in music, others in the botanicals and the plants or the weaving and the traditional arts, right? But all of this is like coming and being cultivated, and it's so beautiful and inspiring. It just like feels so good and feels so right.
Yeah. Wow. It's beautiful. The way that ayahuasca has entered the culture is like, there's rappers rapping about ayahuasca. There's it has infiltrated the culture through all of the arts too. And it's a beautiful thing. This was a fun exploration for me. At Sacred Sons, brotherhood is medicine. That's the one that we're serving up, cups full. And I would just like to say an acknowledgement of integration. This is why at Sacred Sons we are no substances, because we fully believe, and that work is beautiful. And when we come together, it's not about taking more of something. It's not about bringing more on. It's about, there's so much medicine in abstinence, in just being with ourselves and each other. And I'm so looking forward for you to experience this part of the community and the culture that we're creating. So we will see you along with our brothers and sisters in September. With that, Mariah, is there any final message, prayer, or song, or sign language, or vision, or any dance that you would like to leave with the brothers and the sisters who are still here with us? They got all the way here, and they want to know what you're going to leave them with.
Thank you so much, my brother. I'm so grateful and honored for this opportunity to drop in, and this has been a beautiful conversation. So I just want to thank you and thank everyone who tuned into this beautiful conversation and who arrived to the end. So I just want to leave with a lot of love and sending out a prayer of tremendous amount of love and sweetness to each one of your paths and your families, your work, your mission, your life. May your life be filled with the love of the Creator, full of sweetness and joy, and return to the heart. And may you feel your inherent connection with nature, your divine connection with all of life and each and every moment. May you feel the invigoration of each breath, each new day, the gift of being alive. May this gratitude reap bounty upon all of your relations and all of your weavings in this world. I'm just sending this prayer of so many blessings from Creator, blessings from all of nature upon you who are listening. My love and prayers and deep respect.
And so it is. Your channel is it's beautiful to witness. Thank you so much. Thank you for the blessings. Feel blessed to have had this conversation with you as well. With that, Sacred Sons, 4 Visions is the real deal. Please support this community. Whether you are getting your medicines, your tools, your sacreds, your instruments, or your integration, go to 4visions.com or 4visionsintegration.com. Mariah, it's a joy to watch you expand. I'm so looking forward to the drop of Munay, and I'm ready to dance. Let's bring some fun, some joy, some music to C9 Remembrance, and we will see you there. With that, we're out, family. Peace.